I got my seeds in the post today, and I decided I'd need to get back into the garden. And once I did, I ended up changing a few things from the original plan. But first, there were a couple of jobs I needed to finish off, like topping up the drums and getting the irrigation ready. I direct sowed most of my seeds into the drum, but I did start a couple of seedling trays. Once I had all the seeds laid out in front of me, I decided I wanted to change a few things of the original plan. That seems to happen from time to time. When I finished putting the drums together and resetting the soil last week, I had one drum which was a little bit short on soil, so I wanted to get that topped up first. I also added some leftover perlite to help open up the soil a bit. Since it's fresh potting mix, I didn't need to add any compost because it's already in there, which was good because I didn't have any left and I didn't want to buy another bag just for a small amount. Rather than direct sowing everything, I started the broccoli and cauliflower in seeding trays. I thought that made more sense for this round because it gives them a bit more protection while they're getting going, and it also lets me use the drums in the meantime for some quick crops. That way they should be harvested before the broccoli and cauliflower need that space to grow into. My original plan was to plant 4 drums with broccoli, 4 drums with cauliflower, and 4 with beans. But once I got all the seeds out and I remembered I still had some left over from last year, I decided to put them in as well and test how they go against the ones I specifically got for the arid zone that I live in. Yeah, I didn't do my research very good last time. Now, the original plan was solid on paper, but I wanted to experiment a little and compare how things went. In the grand scheme of things, it was only a couple of tweaks to what I was planting, but the overall setup stayed the same. One drum still has my pickles in it that I thought was done for, and it's even got 2 grown pickles on it, with a few more on the way. That actually blows me away. The corn got smashed by the heat and just totally dried out, and only one bean made it at first, but couldn't quite recover. Since the pickle plant is clearly still going, I worked with it instead of pulling it out. I added a bit of trestle to it, giving it something to climb up and a bit more support. It keeps reminding me how plants are a lot more resilient than I give them credit for. I started planting with my beans and peas drums, which are against the fence, and since they're climbing plants, they won't block any of the sun back there. In these drums I planted 1 snow pea, the mammoth melting variety, and 1 with shelling peas, or alderman variety, as originally planned. Then, from seeds I already had in stock, I planted a drum with blue lake beans, 1 with Yukomo snow peas, and the last one I put bush beans in. Getting these first seeds into the ground felt good, and I was excited to keep going, and I can't wait to see how they're going to look once they're all established. For the edible companions, I ended up mixing things up a bit and putting 1 in each of the bean and pea drums, with an exception to the dwarf beans, which I could actually cram more dwarf beans into the same area. I put lettuce mini butterhead in with the snow peas, leek American flag in with the Yukomo, Salpa Amsterdam, which is Chinese celery, with the blue lake beans, and Mizuna green leaf in with the shelling peas. This let me use the space in the drum instead of leaving each one half empty like I did last year, which also felt a bit disappointing when I looked at it. Once that was planted, I watered everything in, set up the irrigation, and covered the tops with old sugarcane mulch that I had left. That part feels really satisfying because once it's all done, all I really need to is tend to the plants when they finally sprout. I use the old mulch I already had rather than going out and buying more because it was still pretty useful, and there's no point spending more money when you don't need to. I did sprinkle a bit of fresh stuff on top just for it to look cosmetically nice, but it makes no difference in the grand scheme of things. The hard work is done, and the irrigation and mulch will make life a lot easier moving forward. While the broccoli and cauliflower are getting started, I didn't want the drums to sit empty, so I make the most of the space by planting one drum with bok choy and one with pak choy, both of which I already had good success with last year. I also planted from the new seeds mizuna, green leaf, radish French breakfast, lettuce mini butterhead, and leek American flag. Then there's irrigation and mulch to make life easier later on, and all I need to do now is transplant the broccoli and cauliflower when they're ready, and most of the work is done here. By the end of it, the soil is reset and ready for a new season of planting. The drums have been repurposed and given a new lease for life, and most of the winter crops are in. Irrigation was improved and put back in as well. It feels a lot more ready now than it did last year when I started out. There's still more to do, but the main reset is there now, and that makes the next job feel a lot simpler. Instead of looking at a bunch of mismatched bags and containers, I've now got something that's actually set up and ready to go. That always makes a big difference mentally, because once the structure is there, it's easier to keep the momentum going. This is one of those times when the garden plan looked one way on paper, but once you get into it, you adjust and change your approach as needed. In the end, it was only a few variations. Some things might fail, some might do better than I expected, but I'll definitely learn a lot from it and change things again next time. There is still a few more things to do in the coming weeks, like working out how to put the insect net up, seeing how the broccoli and cauliflower come up in the trays, and getting the winter herb tower set up too. I want to see if I can turn the failed summer tower into a thriving winter tower. Not everything went to the original plan, but that's fine. It's in a better place now than it was a couple of days ago.